Bernard Fowler has a long list of credits spanning all genres of music: rock, jazz, funk, pop and Latin. Not only is Bernard an accomplished vocalist, he's also a songwriter, trombone player, percussionist, keyboardist and producer. And apart from his other musical endeavours, Bernard has spent the last decade touring and recording with the Rolling Stones and contributing his voice to solo efforts from Mick Jagger, Keith Richards and Ronnie Wood. First of all, nice to see you.
It's good to see you too, Mark.
Congratulations, you're doing very well in South America right now.
Yeah, it's going good.
Tell us about this. I mean, 10,000 strong audience apparently.
It started with the Rolling Stones. I was there with the Rolling Stones, touring of course, and I met a bass player from a really famous Argentinian rock band. And also another guy who they call the father of Argentinian rock and roll. His name is Charlie Garcia, and the other guy is Fabian. And so they suggested, you know, when the Stones tour ends, why don't you come and play with us? And you know, I didn't plan on it, and then after the tour ended, I found myself with nothing to do.
That's a terrible thing to happen, isn't it?
But it always happens.
Yes.
So I went down there and we met and started doing some club dates.
Mm-hmm.
Club dates went from club dates to theaters and now arenas.
What makes a great musician?
Feeling.
Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, you got this great empathy with each other. And they say that you're Mick Jagger's secret weapon at times. You can't get any greater accolade than that, can you?
You know what? That's nice.
So tell us, from when you first started to now, your interest in music at the very early age.
Well, I think that came from listening to the radio. You know, I listened to the radio every day. You know, when my mother put me down for naps, I was listening to the radio. There was always records playing in my house, and I guess somewhere along, you know, the way I decided I wanted to sing. I wanted to be a musician, so when I got to school, I started to play with the school orchestra, and I must have been about 13, 14, and I started playing upright bass in the orchestra, and my first gig was a salsa gig. It was a guy by the name of Freddie Crespo, and from there I went from the bass to the trombone, and I realized, well, I sang better than I played any of them, so I concentrated on singing. I wanted to be a jock as well, and after a game, some guy heard me singing on the street with some friends, and he says, come audition for my band, and I was like, I don't know, so he kept asking, and I ran into him again, and he cursed me out, actually. So I thought, let me go to this audition. So I went to the audition, I made the band, and a week later I was in a recording studio.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it was just like that.
I think I was about 15 or 16 when that happened. And I just, in order for me to get good at what it was I was doing, it was important to spend as much time with different musicians. And I did that, and ended up from this local band. I did my first record with my second record, because the first time I went into the studio, I made a record that actually came out. It was on Brunswick Records. I think it was probably the last record on Brunswick Records.
It was your fault.
Yeah, probably. In this local band, I met different musicians, so when I left there, I went to another situation in Manhattan, and I had a band called the New York City Peach Boys with world-famous DJ Larry Levan. Larry Levan was like one of the first DJs to transfer from, you know, spinning records in a club to actually producing records and mixing records. He was like the first DJ to do that. And we had a lot of success with that band, and it got funky, as a lot of bands do. It broke up, and just so happened that a friend of mine was producing a record for Herbie Hancock. And he kind of saved me from that situation. So I recorded, I think it was Future Shock with Herbie Hancock. Yep, and I sang all the vocals on that record. I did during the time that I was singing for Herbie Hancock. That I met Mick. I was on the road with Herbie Hancock, and I had 10 days off during the tour. So, leave JFK, go to my apartment. The telephone rings. Bernard, what are you doing? I just walked in the door.
Then walk out again.
He said, yeah, that's exactly what he said. He said, well, turn around and go back to the airport. Ticket there, fly to London. He meets me. I don't know why I'm in London. And we're talking, and on the way there, I remember walking out the airport. I think, we're talking like 23, 24 years ago. So I was pretty young. And he has this long black Bentley,
Yeah.
I never rode in one of those before, so I'm like, wow, I wonder what he's doing. On the way, we pick up a journalist, we do some interviews, drop the journalist off, and we head to Swiss Cottage. We get to this huge white house, ring the doorbell, this huge black dude opens the door. Oh, Mick is, he didn't say Mick, he said, just go in this room, he's in the room. And walk in this room, and Jagger's sitting on the floor, strumming a guitar. And my friend, his name was Bill Laswell, really famous producer. He says, Mick, this is Bernard. This is the guy I've been telling you about. And he invited me down to the floor, and we sang all night, and I did some vocal arrangements for his first solo album, She's the Boss.
Yeah, that was a great album too.
That was a really good album. Good album. I like that album. And that was my meeting with Mick. A few years later, Mick was doing a solo tour, and that's the first time I had gone to Australia with him. I don't know if you saw that show. It was a Mick Jagger solo tour.
Yes.
Yeah. From there, a few years had passed. I had moved to London. I get another call from Mick. Hey, Bernard, the Stones haven't made a record in a while. Come to the studio. I could use your help on, a couple songs. So
Let's go right back, though, when you used to listen to records and radio at home.
Uh-huh.
What sort of bands then? Was one of them the Rolling Stones then?
The first record my father ever bought for me was Rolling Stones.
That's an amazing journey, isn't it? From there to, to with the Rolling Stones to now.
That's right.
Wow.
Time Is on My Side was on that record. I played the grooves off that record, and I don't know, I guess my dad knew, because it's funny, not long after he bought that record for me, he had left, and I didn't see my dad again until I was like 35 years old.
Wow, that's a long time, isn't it, between drinks? Yeah. Was he surprised with your success, or had he been following your success?
No, he was in his own world. Like I said, a long time between drinks. So he was pretty out of it. And by the time I saw him again, he was pretty beat up. He had lost one leg from drinking, and I actually sent for him. I had him meet me at a show in North Carolina. Just to see him and kind of make my peace with him. And he asked me. He said, "How long have you been doing this?" And he said, "When did you start doing this?" And I said to him, it's funny. I said, the day you bought me that first record was when I started doing this in a way.
That would have been a very emotional time for you.
Oh, it was very, very emotional. Because I had to make my peace with him, because I had really been angry with him for so many years for leaving. I was a kid when he left. And I had seen him once before when his mom died. And I remember going to the funeral, and I was standing outside the church, and he got out of a car, and he looked at me and walked right past me. He didn't know who I was. And I never spoke to him.
It's interesting, the anger part. Do you think that held you back, just being angry?
In a way.
Did you know that you were angry, or did you realize it later that you had this?
Yeah, I did. That's why I sent for him. My mother actually saw me have an argument with someone, and she said to me, "The last time I saw you that angry was when your father had left." And she said, "You need to go and make your peace with him." And so I did. And it's funny, so I made my peace with him. A week later, I was in Sydney, I got a call from my mother telling me that he had died on the operating table. He was taking off his other leg. And I was in Sydney at the time.
It's amazing, isn't it? Amazing how life turns out, though. So now that the anger has gone, what have you learned about yourself?
I learned how to be patient. I learned how to be forgiving. I learned, not to hold on to stuff, That can eat you up inside. But then again, because of what I do, they make good songs.
They do. A lot of country and western
they make
songs.
Good songs. Those kind of emotions make good songs. So
how's it changed writing and performing songs? I mean, what noticeable difference is there?
I don't write daddy songs anymore. I went through a few of those, father songs, singing stuff about my, writing stuff about my father, and that's all gone, I think, a lot of the hurt has gone away. I'd made my peace with him, so I don't write, I try to write from a broader perspective, not so personal.
Looking at the whole music industry, how's it changed though from your first recording session from there to now? Because everything is digital, everything is quick download. So how has it changed for you?
It's made it a lot easier. It's made it a lot easier in the sense that, I can make the kind of records that I want to make. I don't have anyone, telling me that. I'm not at a record company's mercy. I can get my music out without them. So that's changed a lot. Of course, you miss the money that they have that they could spend for promotion, promoting the music, but there are ways to do that now.
And just with the viral internet, with viral marketing on the internet, you can do a whole lot. You can get it out there.
That's
especially
right.
Especially with YouTube and stuff like that.
That's right. It's instantaneous. I mean, you could do a show and at the end of the show have a CD too.
From the recording side of things to the performing side of things.
Oh, that's my favorite side of things.
Because you love the live.
Nothing like it.
What's it like? Tell us. I mean, to give us an example.
Oh,
I mean, it's very hard to say what is that like, but how does it feel to be performing in front of 30, 40, 50,000 screaming people?
There's nothing like it. You never get used to it. I never get used to it. I'm nervous before. I'm always nervous before. The nervousness goes away when I open my mouth and I sing the first note. Yeah. It's all over me. It's all over me, And if the music is right, when the music's that right, you don't even pay them any attention.
And the nerves, though, like a lot of sportsmen before they play baseball or basketball or whatever, they have this nerves, and they say if you haven't got it,
that's right,
then you're not going to succeed. So you got to be sharp, don't you?
I got it. I still got it.
What's your favourite concert that stands out?
I was doing records for a company by the name of Celluloid Records, which was the first label to put out rap music, and the guy that owned the label was from France. So I'd gone to France and I did an outdoor show in front of 500,000 people all the way down the Champs-Élysées.
Whoa!
As far as the eye can see. And the second one, the second one would have to be Rio with the Stones. It was 1.5 million people on the beach of Rio.
That's some party.
And it was a party. It was a party.
You say that with a lot of feeling.
It was beautiful. People all along the beach, boats in the water, the hotels, people hanging out at the hotels. It was It was mad. They built a bridge from the hotel to the beach so we could get to the stage. That's
Because you wouldn't have got through.
We
otherwise.
would not have been able. We wouldn't have gotten out the door. That's how many people it
Wow,
was.
that's amazing.
Amazing.
Do you still love music as much as when you first started?
My gauge on that is like still hearing some music and wanting to cry. It moving me to the point of tears. I still have that, and I had that when I first started.
Give us a track, give us a song that makes you feel, almost brings you to tears with emotion.
There's 2 songs on my CD. One song is called I Go to Pieces, and another song is called Broken Man. Those songs, if I'm by myself and it comes on and I'm at that place, they can bring me to that point.
Let's talk about your current projects and what are you doing?
Right now, I'm still working the last album, which is called Friends with Privileges, and I'm currently working on some material for my next solo project. I'm about 3 songs in. I'm planning to go in. I'm trying to get to the studio late tonight or tomorrow to get in to start cutting some basic tracks and finish the writing of that. I just recently did a record with Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper.
I did Alice Cooper's
That's cool.
last record, which was very cool. He is the sweetest guy. Sweetheart. And I love doing that record. He's still writing great stories. And I got to be Ozzy Osbourne on one of the songs.
And how were the Bats Heads? Delicious?
He was supposed to sing like a duet with Alice on the record, but for some reason he was in London and it wasn't going to be done. So I said, Alice, I'll do it. And I did my best Ozzy impersonation, and he flipped out. I had a band in London called Tackhead, and we haven't done anything for a lot of years, so we're getting together now to make some music. What else is going on? Argentina. I'm going to Argentina. That'll be in April to headline 10,000 seats.
That'll be a great experience.
Yeah, it's a good experience for me because I'm by myself, pretty much. Or the band, they're all Argentinian, really, really, really fine players. And they treat me so nice when I'm there. They're very sweet people, So I'm looking forward to doing that, and maybe the Stones again,
Again?
Hey, again, are you kidding? As long as Mick is jumping up and down like Jiminy Cricket, it's gonna be done.
Just say, okay, you're in say in front of 100,000 people, and they're all looking at you, looking at Bernard Fowler, and they say, just in one word only, one word, who are you?
Different.
Bernard, I probably agree with you there. Thank you. Thank you. That's another conversation. Thank you very much.
Who are you?
Different. Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.